Hello and welcome to a new pick a card reading. In today's reading, we are taking a look at what you need to know for the path ahead. So we might be getting a little bit of sneak peek of some obstacles that are coming your way, maybe some blessings that are coming your way, but really we're focusing on what do you need to know in order to maneuver whatever is next. Okay, so for that purpose, I have prepared 3 groups and I have sought out the Wheel of Fortune card in 3 different decks. These are going to be the decks that we're using for each group. So starting off, group 1, 1, 2, 3, group 1. This is your Wheel of Fortune card, and this deck is the Mystic Mondays Tarot deck. It's a very simple but beautiful deck. Group 2. This is your Wheel of Fortune card. This is beautiful illustrations on the Morgan Greer Tarot. And then group 3, this is your Wheel of Fortune card from the Pulp Tarot. All right, so I'm going to give you a moment to zone in or zone out, whichever you need, to find whichever group or whichever deck, whichever Wheel of Fortune card is calling you the strongest. Timestamps are in the description below, and I will meet you at your reading. Hi Group 1, this is your reading if you chose the Mystic Mondays Wheel of Fortune card. I'm going to stick that in here and give it a good shuffle, and then we are taking a look at what you need to know about your path ahead. So that honestly could be long-term just as well as short-term, so it really kind of depends on where you find yourself in this storyline. We're going to start off with one energy card for you so you can kind of see where we're currently finding us, and then we're going to have a little story arc here. Okay, so for group 1, what do we need to know about the path ahead? Where are we currently? Where is this energy starting us off? That is beautiful. I couldn't have planned that if I wanted to. Oh my god, I love that so much. You saw me. I shuffled. That is so... Oh, that makes me giddy. Okay. So yeah, I mean, honestly, in order for you to be drawn to this pile, to have it be the first group and have it be the Wheel of Fortune that is drawing you in, of course, to the reading in general, and then have the Wheel of Fortune come out first, it really feels like there's some immediacy here, right? There is some significant shifts that you are either enacting, meaning you are not just enduring the wheel turning, but you're actually pushing it, right? Or it might just be this antsy feeling of like really wanting it to move finally. Okay, what does group 1 need to know about the journey ahead? The path ahead. Notice the theme of the reading is path ahead, but I said journey, so it seems like you have your bags packed, maybe even literally. What does group 1 need to know about the path ahead? We have the Hierophant come out. We have the Princess of Wands. We have the Six of Cups. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Kind of want to close it out before I start getting into it. Yep. But I am definitely picking up a story here. Oh, this is so... Okay, for one of you, maybe it's going to be so specific. Oh, that fell to the ground. Okay, we have the Four of Swords, but it's coming out, the way I picked it up, it came out in reverse. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so something that I want to point out before we get into it is that I'm asking about what do we need to know about the path ahead, right? And obviously this is a general reading, so for lots of people the paths are going to look very different, but the theme, the inner workings of it kind of come along the same frequency, okay? And so what I'm seeing here is that, first of all, for one person this is going to be super significant. I feel like there is at least one person in this group that is going to make a trip back to a homeland, back to a country, somewhere that they were born. Maybe they don't have a lot of emotional attachments to this place, but in general, what I'm seeing for this group is that this is a journey to self-exploration, but there's a journey of really kind of self-expansion. And it doesn't necessarily feel like something that is expansive in a way that it's new parts of you, but it's actually a journey of self-inclusion. Oh, that is so beautiful. That just gave me like such a warm feeling, just the way those words came out. It is a journey of self-inclusion. And so I also like how these colors, wow, the way these colors are coming together, the way that we have two blue cards here and then two very mixed orange-red cards, and then this actually includes the blue as well. Of course, we have blue here too, but still, the way that that's coming out, I think it really has a lot to do with our foundation. It has a lot to do with really connecting to something that feels either ancestral or very foundational, right? And so with the Hierophant card, we have this curiosity, but also this desire, curiosity coming even more so from the Princess of Wands. But with the Hierophant, it's more so this desire of, okay, I've been thinking about it, I have to actually do it. It's about application. It's about walking the path. The Hierophant is, of course, the archetype of the Pope. And so there are lots of stages that you have to go through in order to even qualify for a position such as Pope, right? And there are these, I'm telling you, somebody's going on a journey that it is going to another country, because what I'm getting here is, and I can't think of the word now, like the journeys that people make specifically for their faith. There's a word, pilgrimage. This is giving the idea of like, I have to do this. And it's, you know, when people do it for their faith, it has to do with a pilgrimage to kind of discover your journey. It's the Hermit card, your journey with whoever your faith applies to, right? But I think for a lot of you, this has to do with a pilgrimage for yourself, or a pilgrimage of a deeper understanding of self. And this Princess of Wands is kind of like this igniting energy. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to get the spark, and then this energy, these two combined, is really going to give you the momentum to actually embark on that journey. Now, of course, I'm talking about, you know, travel, but it doesn't have to be as extensive as that. It can literally have to do with, I'm finally submitting for my DNA testing, or I'm finally cleaning out the attic and, you know, dealing with my late parents' belongings, something like that, right? Where it's kind of like maybe we've been putting it off for a while, or we've been overwhelmed with the thought of it. And again, it doesn't even have to be anything like external like that. It can just be about, even for some of you, that might even have to do with going to therapy, committing yourself to therapy, and really exploring. Because of the Six of Cups, there's a richness there that we are diving into that is very vulnerable, but it's also just very enriching. I just said richness. There's a depth there that is very vulnerable, but it's also very enriching. And so it might be the kind of vulnerability that makes us scared to return to, go back to, because we'll feel out of our element. But the Three of Wands, that's where that expansive energy comes in. And then with the Four of Swords, it does kind of feel like this is something that we're finally doing. This is something where we're finally, we're not looking away anymore. We're not being silent about it anymore. And I also am getting so many, wow, this is an intense group. Okay. I'm getting so many like super specific messages. I feel like for some of you, this actually has to do with getting some kind of testing done, like some kind of health, and the difficulty of the journey has to do with the fact that it's become unavoidable. And there may be some sort of linkage to ancestry, meaning, there's some kind of testing that has to be done because there is some kind of medical history in the family. And so this Four of Swords just feels like we're finally talking about it. We're finally not looking away, not distracting ourselves. Now, the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck is kind of like the closing energy. And whereas with the Wheel of Fortune, we're feeling like, okay, it's unavoidable. With the Nine of Pentacles, there is this energy of pride of like, I have done this, I didn't look away. I mastered this. I actually went through this, and it is such an expansive energy. Okay, let's roll some dice here. We have the third house, we have Leo energy, and we have Mars. Yeah, this is this confidence of like, okay, I'm gonna use this spark, this momentum to kind of push myself through any of the with the third house, any of the mental blocks. It's kind of like tricking yourself into action and being like, it's not that serious, when indeed it is pretty far reaching into your idea of selfhood. But you're really kind of just, it's something, the way that this is coming out, Spirit is saying that the journey might feel like something, like there's maybe a fear of discovering things that you feel are limiting, but what you actually discover through this journey is how you are able to maneuver those things, how you're able to handle those, actually informs you a lot more of your selfhood and ability. Let me see, I'm trying to figure out a way to put that in a metaphor. Because there is this fear of, let's just say you're at the gym and you have to lift a really heavy weight. And in your mind, you're like, I can't lift this. I don't think I can lift this. And then you do finally get yourself, maybe there's a trainer, right? Maybe there is an external force that is saying like, just do it. It's okay when if you fail, like just try it. And then you put yourself in a position and you do try and you actually lift the heavy weight. It informs you where your mental state was limiting yourself, but your physical state was actually very capable, right? And in that informs you of like, oh wow, I actually have this ability that I wasn't even aware of. Now that I am aware of it, who can I be now, right? What's gonna stop me? Very interesting, because I really feel like you're kind of going inwards to get a lot of resource. And again, for some of you, that is happening through doing something outwardly, meaning some kind of journey or something that you've been putting off, some kind of external exploration, but the results are happening inward. It's not an outward result, and it really kind of helps you feel a lot more at peace with who you are, a lot more at peace with what you're dealing with. This is a beautiful reading. Let's get you some oracle cards. What is an aspect that's going to be significant for group 1 to embrace during this journey, during this path? There's an aspect significant for group 1 to embrace. Whoa. Okay, let me grab it. It flew to the floor. We have Femme Fatale. Says highlights the erotic energy of the feminine, opens your heart when your dependency is rejected. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be as literal as this card sounds at first, because what we're talking about here is more so the idea of flirting with life, of being open to opportunity. And especially because it says opens your heart when your dependency is rejected, versus the shadow attribute says attachment to money and power. And so there is some kind of freeing of some form of attachment taking place. So maybe this could have to do with somebody losing some kind of being drawn again to look at the third house, meaning there is definitely something where we're discovering how we communicate with ourselves, right? The voice inside our head. It could even have to do with, maybe, I don't see that happening in the future. So I'm not saying that this is happening on your path, but only if this is something that you've already experienced. If you're coming into this reading and you have recently lost your job or lost some sort of something that you were dependent on, whether that is a person, right, a relationship, a home, a job, anything like that. If you've lost something, this is really kind of talking about disengaging that attachment or that dependency to it, and finding strength within yourself, finding being able to connect to some sort of very, very crucial internal resource here. Okay, and that kind of helps you to not feel bad about it with that Nine of Pentacles, right? So let's say you lost your job. It can be really easy to kind of lose faith and in this current job market to feel really like, what do I even have to offer? I'm not qualified for this or that. And this kind of internal realignment that really asks you to kind of flirt with life and be like, no, I'm the prize. That really puts you back into this mood of like, no, of course, any employer would be happy to have me. Okay, so Spirit is really trying to remind you that you are the prize here. Oh, I picked up the wrong Oracle deck. I wanted to start off with the Moon cards first. Can we get a Moon card and significant energy for this path ahead? Blossoming. Yes, and that is a 33. Blossoming. And then we have boundaries at the bottom of the deck, and I think that's really kind of showing that you're discovering that your boundaries are actually further out than you realized. You are definitely, because this is such an expansive energy, I think you are coming to a place to be able to blossom, connecting to that Nine of Pentacles. And I'm thinking about when a flower blossoms, right? When it grows, all you see is green, green, green until it finally blossoms. That stuff, like that color, where does it come from? I mean, sure, there's lots of explanations, or a scientific explanation, but the fact that all we see is green, 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 and all of a sudden there's like this bright pink or bright yellow flower, and that comes from inside, right? I know that sounds like such an elementary way to put it, but still, that's what I'm seeing. Can we get any last considerations or advice for group 1? Any last advice on how to proceed on this path? Yes, I totally saw that in my mind's eye. The cave totally makes sense. And then we have guardians. The cave is all about self-exploration, and it is all about, sometimes the cave has to do with kind of like seeking solitude on purpose. Honestly, I think for some of you, this is giving kind of like eat, pray, love. Especially with that femme fatale as well. Eat, pray, love. Coming back to your root chakra, to your sacral chakra. Really finding stability and balance from within, from like deep, deep within. And with the cave, that does have to do with solitude, but it also has to do with, especially because we have guardians as well, and we have all of these eyes, Spirit is definitely saying that your intuition, your spirit team are sending you messages. They are connecting with you, and to not disregard that, especially with the Four of Swords in reverse. I do feel like the Four of Swords in general is about stillness and meditation and healing. And so with that in reverse, it kind of feels like we're getting to a point where we can actually put the insights that we're getting through that kind of communication, we can actually process that kind of out loud, right? And put that into action. And that's kind of what's coming through here too, is again, there's some sort of imagery of pilgrimage, of going into a cave and coming out. Not this isn't like a pilgrimage of like, oh, I have to go alone, or I have to go somewhere and be alone because I need to like find myself again. That feels different. It's more so of I need to discover more of myself. You haven't lost anything of yourself, but I think you've kind of forgotten how much of you does actually permeate out of your energy. I hope that makes sense. That sounds a little vague, but it's just that I'm seeing like your energy being much more potent than you realize, and there's the path ahead of you is meant to ignite that awareness that your energy is much more potent than you realize. And in order to do so, you have to come back to something with that Six of Cups, right? It's kind of coming back to some sort of memory. For some of you, that could also have to do, because we talked earlier, if you've lost a job, that could lead into you realizing some sort of passion that you once had that you had put aside because you got sidetracked by, having to pay bills and all those things. And so there is something that we are rediscovering. Like, it's almost like having, I mean, this is unrealistic, but it's a metaphor. Imagine you have a giant house and there's a whole west wing that you had boarded off at some point and you completely forgot about it. And you're just like, I'll deal with it someday. And then now it's like, wait, don't I have a west wing? What am I doing? Why am I not using that? So this is an incredible energy. And I think embarking on this journey, on this path with an excited curiosity can really help you to feel a lot more prideful and a lot more excited for what you are capable of doing, okay? That's what I see for your path ahead. Really, I'm honestly, I'm kind of drawing this reading out right now because I feel this energy is very rejuvenating. It's very refreshing, and I think it's very lovely. So I'm excited for you. I know you kind of are feeling a little bit pressure or impatience, but this is definitely something that is ahead of you, and I think it's going to feel really reaffirming, and I think that's really exciting. So you should also, as you are on that path, make a point to document it somehow, because I do think that this is something that is so I'm just hearing delicious. This is something that is so delicious, but also just rich, that there are parts of this, aspects of this, that will be kind of overwhelming in the moment. And if you make a point to document it, whether that is taking pictures, taking videos, journaling, anything like that, that can really help you to kind of process after the fact and really kind of remember the beauty of this journey, okay? All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you would like to book a personal reading, get some more insights, you can do that only on my website, which is linked below. Please, I do not DM or message to sell you any readings. Don't ever get scammed by fake accounts, because unfortunately there are lots out there. But I love personal readings. I also offer astrology readings, so go check out my website and see what's going on there. Other than that, I hope I get to read for you again sometime, and until then, take care. Hi Group 2, this is your reading if you chose the Morgan Greer Tarot Wheel of Fortune card. Look at how much fun they're having. Such a blast. Oh, except for that guy. Sorry about it. All right, we are going to stick that back in here, and we're going to give it a good shuffle. And then we are taking a look at what you need to know for the path ahead. So that can be short term, that can be long term, that can be so many things. We'll see. We'll keep it open. Okay, that should be shuffled enough. Let's see. Okay, we're going to start off with an energy for where you're currently at, and then we're going to get a little story arc here. Okay, for group 2, we get a current energy check for group 2. Ooh, and you know what? I almost said it too. Before I even before I hit record, I was getting ready for your reading, and I felt such a giddy energy. And I forgot to mention it though, but you won't let me forget it because we have the Sun card coming out as your current energy. So that is giddy, that is happy, that is optimistic, that is focusing on possibilities. And listen, if you're listening to this and you're like, that's not where I'm at, that's kind of like the desire that you have. If that's not an energy that you're embodying, it's kind of like, I wish. And that's exactly it, right? That I wish. That's because our current energy is not, or the card that comes out for our current energy is not always the energy that we most embody. It's just kind of like the goal that we have in mind at times, okay? So now we're going to take a look at what's the path ahead. The Hierophant. That is so funny. We got the Hierophant in the same position in the last reading. We have the Queen of Cups. We have the Knight of Cups. I like this already because this feels like really emotionally committing ourselves. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? We have the Nine of Cups. And then we have the Nine of Wands. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Five of Swords. Ooh, somebody is setting boundaries. I really like this. Okay, this is exciting. I mean, I think it's exciting when we consider where it's taking you. The path to getting there might be a little bit rocky, and specifically might be a very kind of emotional, volatile journey, right? Maybe one day we're like, yes, I got this, and another day we're like, what am I doing? Why did I just say that? Why did I just do that? But the fact of the matter is, you are being drawn with the Sun energy. You are being drawn to happier times. You are being drawn. You desire something that is more reciprocal. This doesn't have to be in terms of romantic relationships, not at all. I think this kind of bleeds into all relationships, but I do feel like this has to do with relationships of some sort. If it were to do with like your career, that can apply too. It's kind of like the relationships that you have at work. But in any case, this feels very relational, meaning it's really about craving connections that are reciprocal, craving connections where we can see eye to eye, right? And where we are being acknowledged, especially with the Sun card, because it is about focused attention, where we are being acknowledged for what it is that we bring to the table. Now with the Hierophant card, of course, this can have to do with committed partnerships. So specifically for those of you that are in a committed relationship, that would have to do with how your partner is showing up, how you are expressing your needs within this partnership. And there's a change coming. There's definitely I feel that no matter what area of life this applies to, what is happening here is that you are being brave in acknowledging your needs more, especially your emotional needs. You're being more vulnerable, meaning you're also offering, like through saying, hey, I'm kind of feeling this way, not only are you offering someone an opportunity to emotionally engage, but you're, of course, also being vulnerable, right? But this is coming from a place of wanting to honor yourself with this Nine of Cups. But with the Nine of Wands, it does indicate to me that this is also a way of defending yourself. And now with the Five of Swords, Spirit is saying in terms of what you need to know for the path ahead, that it is not of your concern how people are going to react to this, because what they want you to focus on is to have the bravery to actually pursue this, to listen to what it is that you need at this time, to really kind of step into centering yourself and your needs at this time, and especially your boundaries with this Nine of Wands, because otherwise it's almost like you've been giving out resources, right? With these cups, it's kind of and I'm not saying this is the case, but I'm saying that this is what it kind of feels like, of like, oh yeah, sure, I can give you a cup. Yeah, I have another cup, right? And here we're looking at becoming a little bit more defensive about what it is that we're willing to give, what it is that we're willing to share. And again, with this Five of Swords being right here, where we have this energy of maybe in the past you kind of had to be like, yeah, everything's fine. No, that's totally fine. Yeah, no, totally fine, because you thought that was being the bigger person. Sometimes being the bigger person is understanding that people need to deal with their reaction to you setting boundaries on their own, because it's not your problem, because it's not your responsibility to baby them, to parent them. And so this has really a lot to do with kind of creating some distance to other people's reaction to you prioritizing yourself. Wow, let's get some dice on this. And with this Queen of Cups, it's telling me that, I feel like you have tried to be the bigger person, like I said, tried to act in a way that was really kind of empathetic and really emotionally forgiving and gracious. And it just seems that you're getting to a point, probably out of necessity, maybe not even out of necessity. Maybe it's just you feel a change in the wind. If we take a look at these perspectives, she's looking that way, trying to be like, oh no, I'm gonna stay positive. And he's like, wait, no, I need to push through what it is that I want for my own self. And so there is kind of like this emotional switch up. So you gotta make sure that it doesn't feel like whiplash to you. It might feel like whiplash to other people, because all of a sudden it's like, what do you mean you're putting your own needs first? I'm so used to you, because of this Hierophant card, we have this dedication to preserving status quo, this dedication to preserving the kind of the waters being calm. And then with this Knight of Cups, it really kind of shakes things up. Can we get some dice on this? We have the second house, we have Jupiter energy, and we have Sagittarius. Now, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so that's kind of like a double whammy here. And essentially what this means is that there is a desire for more, because the second house is a house of possessions. It is a house of finances, but it is also the house of values, right? And if we are really taking a look at what have I been giving in this situation and what have I been receiving, and then we recognize, that doesn't pay my bills, that doesn't, fill my cup, then it's like, okay, well then we kind of have to act on that, right? Because it's not going to fill itself. And so while the second house is about values, and this is really kind of talking about, maybe not feeling as valued and therefore having to redraw boundaries that kind of allow you to, because the second house is very much about finances, I'm also now thinking of like luxury items, right? There are luxury brands that have incredible high pricing, and of course there's an argument in saying like that bag can't possibly be worth $2,000, but if the brand places itself as a luxury brand, then they have to keep the price high in order to keep the appeal of the luxury brand, right? It's marketing things, but that's kind of what's coming through of like, this has to do with you raising your prices. It has to do with you raising your market value. And I know that sounds really kind of capitalistic, but that's because of that second house energy, because it does feel like maybe we've been too generous in the past, right? Or we've been too focused on over giving for not enough in return. And so it's kind of like a market correction. I think there's a more accurate term for that, but I don't actually know like housing markets and stuff like that, because I think that's where that term comes from. It's like a price correction. And so yeah, some people are going to be like, what the heck? I was just here last week and I got that for free. Why are you now wanting more? And it's like, well, because I recognize that I'm worth more. So I'm going to need you to either step up or go buy from somebody else. Okay. Jupiter is an expansive energy, as is Sagittarius, and with Sagittarius, it's expansion through experience, through lived experience, right? Okay, very interesting. Let's get you an archetype card. We are going to see what is an energy that you, as in spirit, what is an energy that group 2 should embrace more of as they embark on this path ahead? What is an energy to embrace more of? What was that? We have child wounded. Okay, so this says awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children, opens the learning path of forgiveness. We have alchemist at the bottom of the deck. Okay. With these cards, a lot of times I will work with just the archetype name and not so much with the description, and that's kind of what I'm feeling here. Because I think what they're saying, what to embrace, has a lot to do with acknowledging the wounds that we have ignored and therefore enacted patterns around those wounds, and because of that maybe avoided confrontation, avoided displeasing people, right? So this can have to do with people-pleasing tendencies, of course. That fits quite well with everything we talked about. And so what they want you to embrace is that there is a wound to acknowledge, and once we bring attention to that wound, especially because the sun also is very much about childhood energy, once we bring attention to that wound, we can address it and maybe let it properly heal for the first time ever. Because instead of waiting on someone else to blindly sense that we have this wound, when we actually know that we have it, instead of waiting for someone else to come clean the wound and let it heal properly, if we turn around, quite literally, if we emotionally turn around, instead of giving to others, give to ourselves and are like, wait a minute, I need some better boundaries because I need to focus on what I need to do here, which is work on my childhood wounds. It doesn't have to be childhood either. It could be from a recent experience or something like that, but somehow there's a very vulnerable part of you that got wounded. And so if we kind of create the space to focus on that, then we really allow for ourselves to kind of heal that and then approach connections differently. Let's see, can we get a moon card? What is an energy that's going to be most significant for the path ahead? We have discernment. Okay. So discernment is all about bringing awareness to situations in a way that allows you to be a little bit less emotional and a little bit more logical. Now we can see we have lots of cups going on here, right? So this definitely feels like there is kind of a very emotionally draining path ahead of you. And so as we are being triggered to kind of make a stance for ourselves and to bring attention to an old hurt, Spirit is saying that at the same time, feel your feelings, yes, but there is also a need for you to bring awareness, logical awareness, to what is something that we can actively do right now and where does the blame lie. And that specifically, I think, is important with this Five of Swords, because again, like I said, that came through as kind of a, you know, you don't owe anyone else access to you. You don't owe anyone else, you know, like emotional consistency that doesn't vibe with you anymore. But this is saying that we definitely need to take a look at ourselves and the patterns that we have been enabling, right? The patterns that even when we weren't aware, even if we've been doing it from a subconscious place, now that we are bringing more conscious attention to it, we do have to take some time to bring awareness to, where have I been allowing things that maybe I shouldn't be allowing moving forward? And that has everything to do with these boundaries, right? There is like this exhaustion of I don't know why, but I'm seeing this imagery of kind of like a playground, and it kind of feels like, I have no idea why, but it kind of feels like if you were anyone, you would be the playground. And so there's this exhaustion of letting people play with you, play on you, something like that, playing with your emotions, and just this feeling of being on a merry-go-round somehow, and just being like, yep, okay, here we go again, okay, yep, yeah, this is fine. Where it's like, yeah, it's awful that people kind of took advantage of the fact that you didn't set boundaries in place, but also we do have to, without pointing fingers or blaming anyone else or ourselves, we also have to acknowledge that we didn't set those boundaries in place before, right? And so it's really kind of about taking stock of a situation. And yes, you are allowed to change the rules, you are allowed to change who has access to you, but we also have to, we have to, with that Five of Swords, kind of allow things to fall apart without trying to hash out every detail of who's who did what, and he said, she said. I think there's going to be some distance necessary, because otherwise we kind of get caught up in this idea of they made me do this, they made me do that. And that's not to say it's not true, but I think what's healthier in this point in time is to really kind of get back to yourself and center yourself. Take care of your own healing. Let them spin any narrative that they're trying to spin because they're reactionary. Don't let that reactionary energy get to you, okay? That's what's coming through with this discernment card. Okay. So overall, I think the path ahead for you has a lot to do with licking your wounds in some shape or form, but also really kind of centering loyalty to yourself more so than others. And again, I think Spirit specifically wants you to focus this kind of energy on you and not so much on what does this mean for other people. Because yeah, people will have opinions, people will have, you know, they'll have stuff to say, but if even in the process of setting those boundaries, you worry too much about other people, then you're still centering them. Any last advice or considerations for group 2 here? That fell to the floor. Let me grab that. We have protection. And we have follow it. Now, I like that protection came out because it kind of does feel like there are some boundaries that you are drawing that have to do with you protecting yourself more, right? So I think that is definitely saying, like, Spirit is saying you need to really center that as you follow this path ahead, that it's really important that you protect yourself, especially from like external opinions or sources or anything like that. And then we have follow it. Especially because we have some moths here. This is talking about following our intuition. And I think that's kind of what's coming through with this Knight of Cups. It's like, for some people, it's going to feel like you changed overnight, because it's like, there's just this switch that flipped, and it's like, this doesn't feel right. I can't. I need to save my cups. Something is really just changing. And honestly, again, with the second house, Jupiter and Sagittarius energy, for some reason, I'm seeing it in a very financial way. And so this almost feels like a dip in the stock market, where it's like, whoa, the stocks have dipped, and I really need to focus on, I'm recognizing how much I've been overspending towards other people. Again, this is mostly emotional, but still, take it as it resonates. But it's like, kind of like I've been overspending, and I need to really kind of become more aware of where my energy is going. And so follow it, especially coming out with this Knight of Cups and this Hierophant card, is saying that your intuition is definitely trying to remind you to be more conservative with your energy. Especially with discernment as well, because discernment is discerning, is this worth it, right? We're definitely becoming more conservative with our energy, because Spirit wants you to put more of your energy towards healing this wound. So that then once we go eventually, once you go through that process, you can feel more confident and more assured, and just more grounded in who you are and what you're giving to people and what you need from people in return. So ultimately, this is setting you up to receive more reciprocal relationships, and that might be with the people that, you know, at this point in time take issue with that, but then recognize, oh, they're just doing their own thing, I need to let them be for a little while. You know, changes are possible on all sides, on all fronts. But that's, again, something that Spirit is like, don't worry about it now. What you need to worry about is following this desire to kind of like center yourself and your needs more. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope it resonates. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can do that on my website only. I will never DM you. I will never reach out to you to sell you a reading. There's a lot of scam copycat accounts out there. Do not get fooled. Only way to book with me is through my website, where you can book personal readings as well as astrology readings. So go check that out. Other than that, I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose the Pulp Tarot Wheel of Fortune card. We are going to throw that in here and give it some good shuffles. And then we are asking what you need to know for the path ahead. So that can be short term, that can be long term, really kind of depends on where you find yourself within the narrative that comes out. We're going to start off with one card that is kind of connecting to your current energy or current focus, desire, and then we're going to get a little bit of a story arc to see what you need to know in order to move through the path ahead gracefully. That's what we're hoping for, at least. All right, awareness helps us be a little bit more graceful. All right, can we get for Group 3 one card on their current energy? Where are we starting off? Sorry, I'm trying to decide if that came out fully or not. It is the Fool card, but I don't think it came out fully. I pay a lot of attention to that. It always kind of adds layers to the cards that do fully jump out. And so I do take it into account that the Fool was hesitant, but then we have the Eight of Wands come out, which indicates to me that there is a desire to create a new start to something, to jump into something. However, you currently are still kind of focused on perhaps the planning stages of that. Maybe putting a lot of things into motion, but not the final jump yet. Now let's take a look at the path ahead. Ha! I love that. Don't you just love that? I freaking love that. All right, that was beautiful. I love that so much. Because that's the thing, like you are currently still like setting everything in place. If you are thinking about moving, doesn't have to be, but if it doesn't apply, then it's just a metaphor, right? But this Eight of Wands would be packing the boxes, right? But the Fool card would be putting it all in a truck and then bouncing. And so that's kind of what I was picking up on. It's like our mind was already on like, yeah, I'm doing this, but there's still all of these steps in the meantime that have to get, it's kind of like a checklist. There's all these things that I have to get done before I can actually feel like I'm in that moment of doing it. Ooh. We have the Seven of Pentacles. Oh my God, I love this. You are a prepared queen or king. You're so prepared. Yes, we have the Strength card. And also, if you are finding yourself still obviously in this Eight of Wands energy and you feel like, I feel like everything's chaotic right now and I don't feel prepared, then know that that kind of anxious feeling is helping you get prepared as well. There is definitely a point that you're going to reach where it's going to be like, okay, yeah, I got this. I am prepared. And all of the, the fearful planning did help me out. That was the Ace of Wands peeking out for a second. Oh, look at you. Oh my God. Oh God. Okay. What is that? The Five of Wands. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the King of Swords. Oh my goodness. You are... Okay. So what you need to know for the path ahead is that you have more strength and more strengths than you realize. I do feel like you are preparing to move into some sort of space, metaphorically, where you will be in competition with others, where you will feel like you are kind of having to prove yourself. Even if there are no other people involved, if it's no other people involved, then it's your self-doubt that you're battling. Then it's the voices in your head that are like, you can't do this. The path ahead for you is something that you have been working towards, and it's going to feel equally exciting and terrifying as you embark on this path. But it is something that you have prepared for, and you have everything you need. The moment that you finally make that jump, you have everything that you need to succeed. First of all, that was a rhyme. I didn't mean to, but it happens. And with this King of Swords, it's indicating to me that because we're going from this Eight of Wands to the King of Swords, it's indicating to me that through trial, and specifically through trial and error, is where you actually find your mental confidence, right? You already have it in your gut because it's kind of like your intuition is telling you like, yes, 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 go, 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 we got this. but your logical mind is not quite on board yet. And it isn't until you get the opportunity to actually prove yourself and you get to see your confidence in action, that's when that King of Swords energy is like, oh, see, I always knew I could do it, which your logical mind was not on board. Your logical mind was probably a little bit anxious, but your solar plexus energy, your gut instinct told you, like, I think we can do this. I think we can do this. And your logical mind probably was like, well, just in case we can't, we need A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F. And down the entire list, being like, just in case, let's just have some backup plans. And because of that, you are like over prepared and so ready to face whatever kind of obstacles come your way. And I like that the Five of Wands is coming out as the last card versus this top card, because the top card here, because this is a narrative, the top card is the highest point of tension. And so the highest point of tension being the Strength card just indicates that what you need to have mostly is just the audacity. What you need to have mostly is just the confidence, and everything else falls into place. And that is beautiful, because it really indicates that you are not coming from a place of blind faith. You are coming from a place of being really prepared and being really methodical in your approach to whatever this is, whatever it is that you're trying to master here, whatever it is that you're trying to feel more in control of. Like I'm seeing this imagery of like a mechanical bull. For some of you, this has to do with embarking on a career, on a new career. Some of you, this has to do with self-employment. Some of you, this has to do with embarking on like a college degree that really requires a lot of, because all degrees are not the same. I got a degree that was fun. I got a degree where it was like, oh, this is not easy, but it's not hard compared to, like, let's say somebody trying to pass the bar, right? Compared to like a medical student. And so not all degrees are the same. And I can acknowledge that without feeling bad about my own degree. But what I'm seeing here is that it's this feeling of like, yeah, the thing that I've chosen, the thing that is calling me is not the easiest, but I think I can. And your logical brain is like, oh my God, but have you considered this and this and this and this? And you have to stick with that gut instinct. And then the rest will figure itself out. And it will figure itself out not because it figures itself out, but because you've invested so much, not just passion into this, but you also invest a lot of really, like, your work speaks for itself. You do things that are tangible in order to feel like, and it comes almost from a place of either having to prove it to other people, because maybe other people have told yourself, like, are you sure? That's really hard to do that. But you're definitely overcompensating with preparation, and yet it's not overcompensating at all, because it's really just a proof of how dedicated you are. Ooh, okay. We have the 7th house. We have Mercury energy, and we have Capricorn. That is that dedication. And then Mercury energy is that, all we have to get on board at the end is kind of like your logical thinking, because your gut is telling you one thing and your brain is probably a little bit fearful. Your ego might be a little bit fearful. It's interesting that we got the 7th house, because I do think that this, in that context, has to do with perhaps the things that other people tell you, right? So the fearful aspect may have to do with the ways in which other people have scared you off with stories, or, oh, but did you know that this? Oh, that you think you can do that, but have you heard about that? Seventh house is a house of partnerships and relationships, specifically committed partnerships. However, it is also the house of just other, because it is opposite the first house, which is the house of self. And the seventh house is the house furthest away from the self. It is quite literally how we engage with other people, right? Which can be tricky at times. And so if we put it in context of that, especially with the seventh house also representing business partnerships, this could have to do, again, we talked about the Five of Wands being perhaps some sort of competition. Now, I wouldn't necessarily read it as that in terms of like a romantic relationship, but when we're talking business partnerships, this could have to do, it's giving Shark Tank. It's giving Shark Tank, oh my God. Is somebody going on Shark? Please let me know. But that's kind of what it's giving. It's prepping and having a business plan and being like, look, this is what we could do if we go into partnership together. What do you think? And then having to like make your case, right? Having to come up with, this is the business plan, this is what could go well, this is what could like go not so well, but I am prepared, and what do you think? Do you want to, especially with the King of Swords, it's kind of like the offering, the way he's holding the sword is kind of like the offering of a contract. So that is very possible that for some of you, you are considering going into some sort of partnership when it comes to business. Now, of course, especially because it is the seventh house, committed relationships, I can also turn this around in terms of a romantic partnership that would still have to do with coming to some sort of an agreement. And I think in that case, it would have a lot to do. It's just interesting because none of the cards here really show a lot of emotional involvement. It's very like, that's why we also have Capricorn Mercury energy, because it's very grounded and very, maybe you have a Capricorn moon or something where it's kind of like you really have to look at the cold hard facts in order to feel emotionally safe in a partnership. But the Eight of Wands would indicate that you were, dating with purpose, that you were trying to ground something that was stable. And then the Fool card would be, do I invest myself into this relationship? And is it worth it? And do I have the tenacity to kind of stick it out through the bad parts? It's a very sober look. It's a very sober look at a romantic relationship, should this apply to a romantic relationship. It would be very much like, okay, but what's the, I don't even know these words. Something's trying to come to mind. It's what's the non plus ultra? Is that a term? What's the cost benefit analysis? Like something like that, where it's like, does it make sense? Like, does this person earn enough? Are we compatible? It's very logical and very grounded, which I don't hate. I'm a water sign. I come from a place of way too much emotion. So I don't find this unhealthy, especially because this is just Spirit's reminder of this is something that you need to keep in mind. So it could very well be that emotionally you're like, yes, but Spirit is saying, hey, take a look at these things too. And can we work out the kinks? Then we can come to an agreement. So it doesn't mean that this is like a lackluster relationship at all, or that it's missing passion or emotions. It's just that this is what Spirit is trying to highlight for the path ahead. Now, again, I think for most of you, though, this has a lot to do with just how you interact with others, and specifically like business or career partnerships, opportunities, and such. So I think for most of you, this is not necessarily romantic, or it's past a state of honeymoon phase, and it's really talking about planning for our life ahead, right? Where it's like, yeah, we've been dating, or maybe for 8, I don't know, maybe some of you have been dating for 8 years, and it's kind of like, okay, what are we doing, 8 months I think is still pretty fresh, but there's just something where it's like, yeah, we've put continuous effort into something, so what are we doing with it? Because I have a lot of investments, and especially with the Seven of Pentacles, this feeling like investments, it's kind of like when people say, you should put your money in a house, you should buy a house versus putting money towards rent, because you're not gaining anything from just renting. And so that's kind of what it feels like, of like, we're at the stage of like, I'm not getting any younger, and I need to make sure that I'm investing my time and energy into a solid place. So I have to make decisions that really align with all of me, the butterflies in my stomach as well as the logic in my brain. Okay, let's see. Can we get an archetype card? What is something that group 3 needs to embrace more of in order to move through this energy gracefully? What is an energy to embrace? I'm telling you, the cards have to fully come out, otherwise I don't trust them. We have mediator. Absolutely. Absolutely, because I think that is being the mediator between your gut and your logical mind. Because again, there's something where I think it's very, your logical mind kind of takes over or tries to be like the boss. And it's almost like we have to, when you kind of have to sweet talk a boss, you get to know your boss, and you get to know, they might be a little bit strict at first, but then the more you get to know them, you recognize, oh, if I just do this and this, then they're totally chill. And that's what I'm picking up here, where it's like your logical mind may be the boss when it comes to very important decisions. And so we just kind of have to find the sweet spot of being like, look, we made all this preparation, we did everything you wanted to do, so now I think we can appease your needs and we can do the scary thing, right? But definitely the mediator card is about seeing different perspectives, and especially when we are talking about the 7th house as well, when we're talking about business partnerships or romantic partnerships, especially because we saw this 5 of Wands, and it's all about trying to come to a resolution in things that are a little bit hectic, or people have different interests, different desires, trying to find the order in that. And I think order is very important to you because of this 8 of Wands, and that's really kind of what you're desiring here. So we have to try and take into account that different people have different desires, right? And how can we find a middle ground here? Can we get a moon card? What is going to be the most significant energy as group 3 moves along this path? Whoa. That was jumpers. We have 2 cards. We have protection and resilience. Now, something that I think is important here is, again, if this has to do with you and another person, it's important to remember that you are on the same team, especially if you are in a business partnership or in a committed relationship. And even if this is just between your logic and your gut feeling, you are on the same team. So even if you have differing opinions or differing desires, at the end of the day, we have to remember that we are on the same team, okay? That's coming through very strongly because of protection and resilience. And it's like we have to figure these things out and make sure we get on the same page, but we also have to recognize that we need to protect this thing. We need to feel safe in this in order to truly be able to articulate our needs. But with resilience coming out along with this 5 of Wands and the Strength card, again, if this is just about you and your logical mind and the approach to whatever situation it is that you're really trying to overcome, this is just reminding you that you have what it takes to overcome any obstacle here with this Magician card as well, and that all it takes is the audacity. All it takes is the stamina to keep pushing, because this Five of Wands is the only thing that seems a little bit like an obstacle, and the Five of Wands is not that high of an obstacle. And so everything else is like you have the momentum, you have the resources, whichever kind of resources that may be, you have the strength and you have the abilities in multiple kind of different ways, and you are prepared. And as soon as you get your logical mind on the same page, recognizing these things, all it takes is tenacity. All it takes is to keep pushing, and that you are protected with this protection card, not just necessarily because, oh, the universe is protecting you. No, because you have set backup plans into place, because you are incredibly skilled and prepared. So you are protected because your higher self has protected you. Okay, any last considerations or advice for group 3? So overall, I really think that the path ahead of you, what you need to know for it is that you are so much more prepared than you realize. You are so much more agile than you realize with that Magician card, and that it isn't until you are met with a little bit of pushback that you're actually going to recognize, fully realize how prepared you are. And so don't shy away from confrontation. Don't shy away. And perhaps even going back to this being a relational thing, perhaps you don't realize how invested you actually are in making this work until you get a little bit of tension, right? Kind of like with a business partner starting to back out and being like, no, I don't think so. And it's like, whoa, no, I want to make this work. How can we make this work? And not until then you actually realize how much you're invested in being able to do this together. Any last considerations or advice for group 3? We have nourish and release. Okay. So the nourish card is all about, it's all about feeding your needs, your desires, and then we have release. That is interesting. Let me sit with that for a second. Let me try and piece that together, because the nourish card is also about knowing, along with the nourish card, because this is a woman breastfeeding, and so this is very much about knowing when to wean off with release. Knowing when to wean off. I think that has to do with knowing when to make the jump. Listen, I am just now realizing with this in context, I'm realizing that perhaps the reason that this feels kind of emotionally lackluster in terms of this being a romantic situation, this might have to do with you actually ending a relationship. Oh, that is so interesting. I did not see that coming. This could have to do with you ending a relationship, whether that is a business partnership or a romantic relationship. But then that has everything to do with having prepared yourself to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Everything I said still holds up the same, even the idea of like we're on the same team, because then it comes down to weaning off, right? That's why we got nourish and release. It's about being decisive, but being in a place of weaning off and not completely cutting off. And so that has to do with kind of supporting one another to be able to stand on your own 2 feet each. That's why we had the mediator card as well. So that is really interesting. That's a possibility. It doesn't have to apply. If that's not the case, then this still has, even if this has to do with going into a relationship, right, into contract with someone, either way, this has to do with being able to stand on your own 2 feet. And perhaps one of the fears that we have to overcome is the fact that, oh no, I'm making myself dependent on someone else. And with nourish and release, it's kind of like we have to release the idea that we will be dependent, that it's okay to be part of a unit and still both parts stand on their own 2 feet. I think that's coming through strongly, especially with the resilience card as well. Yeah, overall, I think you are much stronger than you realize, and you're much more prepared for whatever it is. I do think that this has somewhat to do with independence, but it's just interesting because it has to do with independence, and yet we see the 7th house and the Nourish card, which has a lot to do with dependence. And so there's some kind of like the theme has to do with either going from dependence to independence, or going from independence to relation without feeling dependent. So there might be a fear around becoming dependent, and therefore doing all of this overcompensating of like, see, I got my own, I don't need yours. So that's just something to bring some awareness to. You will know where you fall on this. It's kind of hard for me to tell because I feel like I got a lot of different storylines going all at once here. But the overlapping common denominator is that you are much more prepared than you realize, and you will recognize that once you are actually met with a little bit of tension and a little bit of pushback. That's when you realize, oh wait, okay, no, I'm pretty sure of where I stand here. Okay, so that is something to be aware of for the path ahead. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really hope that this resonates. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can do so on my website. It is linked below. Just know that I will never DM you or message you to sell you any kind of reading. There are lots of copycat scammer accounts out there, so please don't get fooled. The only way to book with me is through my website, where you can book personal readings, and you can also book astrology readings. So check that out whenever you feel like it. Other than that, I hope I get to read for you again sometime. And until then, take care.